Hello and welcome to another edition of another book review. This week I'll be reviewing Leaving the Atocha Station by Ben Lerner. I'll talk very briefly about the author, go into a spoiler-free overview of the plot, talk about what I liked about it, what I didn't like about it, who I'd recommend the book to, and finish off with what I will be reading for next time. Ben Lerner is a very well-regarded author. Some people even go as far as say he's one of the best writers of his generation. This book, Leaving the Atocha Station, is his debut novel. It came out when he was 32 years old in 2011. He's gone on to write two other novels, which I've yet to read. He also is a professor, and he is also a published poet. Has won MacArthur Grant or Fellowship. He's also won a Fulbright Scholarship. So he's very, very, very intelligent person. And I found this on a best of contemporary fiction since the year 2000 list. So it's fairly well regarded among critics and the kind of literati. But what the book is about a man named Adam Gordon, who is a college student who is doing essentially a study abroad year in 2004. He has come to Madrid as part of his project to write about the Spanish Civil War and poetry and the effect of that on the Spanish Civil War, how that interacts with the Spanish Civil War. That's kind of his stated purpose, and he's kind of I don't want to say a slacker student, but it's kind of in a liminal space where he is a poet and he's very well thought of by his peers, by this kind of young group of poets who are in the area. But he also isn't sure if he wants to be a poet, isn't sure if he wants to go back to America. This is all kind of on the backdrop of the War on Terror and the war in Iraq. So that's kind of the book. Most of it is really his inner monologues and inner thought processes. He's kind of oscillating back and forth between staying in Spain, going back to America, what's going to happen after this study abroad program ends. He gets into a couple of relationships, and it's kind of a back and forth between those two relationships of which one is he going to continue, if either. So that's really the book. There's some plot points in the novel. They're not really super important as much as it is about this character and his kind of inner thought process and inner monologue. And I think Ben Lerner does a good job of that. I think the book is very, very short. I mean, the book is only about 180 pages. There's not a ton of digressions. He captures the essence of this character very much. He feels like a real person who would be back and forth about these things, where I think a lot of people when they're young, especially if they're artist type people, they're always questioning if they're doing the right thing, if they want to do this or they want to do that. So I thought that all felt very real. I like the fact that he kind of gets in and gets out. Like I said, there's not a ton of digressions in the book. There are one or two parts of the book that I think are really well written. I can't really go into spoils, but there's a part of the book that's told via chat messages that I thought was interesting. It looks a little old-fashioned now reading it in like 2022, but at the time I'm sure that was like considered taking something out of the ordinary as far as the way that things were written. It's just kind of put down in the novel. And I thought that felt real, and I felt that was a nice piece of writing. The things I did not like about there's nothing in the book that I found to be particularly revelatory. I thought that the prose was relatively ho-hum. It really is about this character who just spends most of his time drinking and smoking hash and weed, and just kind of meeting all these people and kind of going in the circles and kind of not doing kind of what he's supposed to be doing, and him just kind of this like ennui and inner searching, navel gazing, and that's kind of the book. And so that's either going to speak to you or it's not going to speak to you. I don't think that there was anything in here that was like terribly written. I think there are some okay pieces of writing, but I do think it's one of those things that's not really particularly my cup of tea. And I also don't think I'm going to be remembering very much of the novel a few days from now. Not that anything was bad. I think the book is fine. I think the prose is fine. But there also, I don't think, was anything that was really mind-blowing about it. I did appreciate the fact that it was short. And, the people I would recommend it to are probably if you're a fan of something like The Flamethrowers, because this is probably the book that reminded me of the most. That, and it's similar to On the Road in a lot of ways. I don't think it's as good as On the Road, but if you've read On the Road and you're like, oh, I'd like something, a more modern take on that's something like a travelogue in this character, and it's like a very real life naturalistic view of he goes here, then he goes here, he sees these people, meets these people, because that's kind of what the book is. And if you dig that style, you dig it. If you don't, you don't. I personally tend to be on the side of, same thing really I said with The Flamethrowers is, to me, it's like reading about artists in their 20s making choices about what they're going to do in life and being kind of these in-between spaces without any kind of real conflict, to me, is not particularly interesting. Like, being that person, going to parties and talking about art, I see value in that. But reading about people having those conversations, to me, is just not that interesting. I understand to some degree why it got the acclaim that it got, because of kind of some of the cultural points that I made about before. It is really about this young American kind of questioning who he is and what he's going to do. And I think it kind of came out at a time when he was relatively young, and I think he had a lot of buzz behind the book. And I've heard the other two books are, I've heard that the third book, the book that came out just a couple years ago, has parts of his autobiography sprinkled in. And it also, from what I've heard, has gotten really good reviews. So Ben Lerner, I would recommend to those people, if you're looking for more of a fiction with kind of any kind of plot that is not really true to life, day-to-day stuff. If you're looking for something that's a little bit unusual or strange, you're not really going to find it here. It is pretty, I don't want to say by the numbers, but it's very much this character in the modern real world and him going through his day-to-day of just trying to finish up this assignment, then figure out what he's going to do next. And so that's Leaving the Atocha Station. I thought there were some nice points to it, but I also was left a little, I think it just ultimately wasn't for me, based on the reasons that I said. So that's Leaving the Atocha Station. Next time I will be going back to John Scalzi with Red Shirts. So next time, please like the video, subscribe to the channel. I'll throw the link to the flamethrowers in the link below. If you're interested in something also is about young artists there, it's young artists in the 70s trying to figure out what art means and what it speaks to them, how it speaks to them. I'll leave that there for you to check out. You can also follow me on Twitter, which I'll leave the link down below too. Until next time, bye.